Welcome to Sacred Business Stories. This is our weekly Substack Live, where we have an honest conversation about really what it looks like to build a business that aligns with your deepest truth. And today we are excited. It's been a few weeks actually since we've been doing this. And today we're joined by Jeffrey Davis. There's probably a lot we could say about him, but to keep it succinct, it seems he's spent the last 25 years of his life teaching teams and leaders how to harness wonder and curiosity to kind of unlock breakthrough ideas. And so, yeah, there's more we could say, but I think it'll be more impactful if we allow him to kind of share those details as we get into his journey. So, welcome, Jeffrey. We'll take a couple minutes to let people join, but it's really our pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, both of you. I'm excited to have this conversation and see what unfolds.
Yes, I'm excited for this conversation too. And I always like to remind the why we do Sacred Business Stories. And it's really to tap into the realm of possibilities, just to bring inspiration and help people to see that there are a lot of people doing cool things out there. So if it's possible for one, it's possible for everybody, right? And we all have our own versions of sacred business. And for us, sacred business is really that business that brings all of who you are forward. So it's a combination. It's like an organic process. It's a combination of your challenges and your victories and your certifications and your life experiences that you were able to kind of bring all of that forward and create a business that supports the lifestyle that is important to you. So, and that's why we're here. It's basically for inspiration and fun. And I just want to say that I love the word wonder and curiosity. So I'm curious to get to know you more.
Great. Me too. Yeah, I so appreciate the way you frame these conversations, right? So I hope your audience gains some inspiration as well as some nuggets, and that they see what's possible for them, because every journey is unique, and it's all about, in part, staying in integrity with what your path is. Particularly when you're looking at other people's paths, you can think, "Oh, I need to be like them," or "I need to do what they did." Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, Jeffrey, I think we just would love to kind of open the floor to you. And it's very open-ended, but we'd love to just kind of hear more about your journey of how you've arrived where you are today, how you serve people, and to the extent that you're willing to kind of take us behind the scenes and how you found your way here and found your way to your calling.
Sure. Okay. Maybe I should start just by talking a little bit about what Tracking Wonder is in its current incarnation. So I run a boutique consultancy and learning community called Tracking Wonder. In short, our mission is to equip mission-centered change makers to leverage their best ideas for a better world. So we're always looking for people who are wanting to contribute to the greater good and integrity. That includes individuals as well as teams. And my team and I think of these people as our business heroes. It's sort of a story model. They're our business heroes. They're people coming to us with some yearning to change in some ways. They're wanting to bring meaningful ideas to life without succumbing to the old school burnout. They're wanting to navigate quite often a lot of complexity in their life and in their work. Many of them are at a very accomplished stage, but they're at some pivot point in their life and work. And so I deliver on that mission in a few ways. One is through private consulting and coaching, private or team talks and trainings, our Unplugged and Unbound retreats that we run once a year. We just started that post-COVID. And one of my favorite ways of delivering is our year-long Tracking Wonder Inner Circle masterminds, where we really do foster a great sense of belonging. So maybe I'll just talk a little bit more, and since you're curious about wonder, I can elaborate on that as well. So we have some real important pillars. You've heard me reference integrity, so that's essential to everything we do. Wise strategy, connection, which I think resonates with you. And yes, the common thread is wonder. It's not a luxury. It is a birthright. We are born in wonder, which means we're also born in not knowing. It is what one poet describes as an astonishment of the soul. It is what I would describe as a quiet disruptor of our biases, so that at least for a fleeting moment, we can see again what is real and true, what is beautiful and possible about ourselves, about each other, about our ideas, about our situation, about the world at large. And experiencing and tracking wonder really does ground us, but it helps us stay open to possibility, to use your word, especially when facing uncertainty or resistance or fear. It helps us reconnect to what and who really matters. There can be wonder right here in this moment, between and among us. So I have found in my journey that when people track wonder, when they recall moments of wonder, share moments of wonder, and actively track moments of wonder, and they actually integrate it into how they work and lead, it really changes everything. I can get into the journey, but I want to give you a moment just to respond, so it's not a monologue.
Yeah, I have maybe many questions, but I just love what you share, and it's something that's very active in my mind, like that you help people to navigate, or like you use the word complexity, and it's becoming very clear to me that there's no way to navigate complexity or try to bring something that maybe we judge as being complex or hard without this wonder and without curiosity, right? So how did you came up with that idea, or how, maybe you tried stuff before and it's not thinking more, it's not like creating more strategy that we navigate complexity, but it's more like with the openness of oh, what is it? Or I would love to hear from you, those two, the combination of complexity and wonder, and complexity and curiosity, and how this is actually probably the perfect recipe for a success.
Yes. So let me see if there's a way to respond to that and put it in context for your listeners as well. So there was a pivotal moment in my life that I can backtrack for you, where I had a defining question of curiosity amidst crisis, really, which was I was working with so many people and studying so many people, and some of them flourished amidst complexity and challenge and change, and some of them floundered. And I did get really curious at this particular time about why that was so, and to what extent wonder had to do with it. Because I will back up to get to that point. I've worked, yes, for a long time. Before tracking wonder, I was working especially with a lot of authors and thought leaders, and getting their books out into the world. I've worked with them in personal branding and other avenues. Um, Not going way back to my boyhood and wonder, because it's probably where it started. It was really there was a turning point when I really understood that wonder is what I've been seeking all my life, and then later turned it into part of the business model. I'm sort of deep fried in yoga traditions and philosophy. I studied with my teachers, now deceased, in South India and Chennai. And I was actually researching for another book. Um, and I was trying to get at this idea of what brings us surprise and renewal, both in our creative work and our lives. And I came across this yoga text, the Shiva Sutras, where it describes a quality called Vishmayo. Vishmayo, which in Sanskrit it means joy-filled amazement or wonder. And the description, just a little sutra, said in essence that when you experience sort of ultimate reality right here, you are filled with a sense of joy-filled amazement and wonder. And it was like a lightning bolt went through him. It was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've always been pursuing. So could I pivot a lot and start researching that? So that was my typical mode. So for a few years, I was doing some deep dive researching, and I was testing out a few workshops at the time as well to see if what I was experiencing might land with other people, could actually facilitate wonder. And it turns out I could. So let me get to the pivotal moment that also might inform your audience and you. My wife and I We got married. We had this beautiful dream house, farmhouse in the Hudson Valley. We're like foundation, stability, boom. Let's grow some wonderlings someday here. And so we had some personal mishaps. In a matter of weeks, I contracted Lyme disease for the first time, and like what would end up being 4 times. And just a few weeks after that, we had a devastating house fire caused by lightning. 1 July, and everything you see behind me was like a wall of char, and lost 300 volumes of books, destroyed 20 years of my work. In that moment, not right at that moment, once we got resettled in a different house and so forth, that's when I got curious. I was like, okay, I've been tracking wonder under certain conditions. Now, that's when I got curious, like, why do some of the people I work with and know and study flourish amidst this kind of crisis and challenge and complexity? And why do some flounder? And what does wonder have to do with it? So, is this answering your question, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. So that's when I did what I do. I do have a tendency to have a little witnessing action amidst challenge and crisis, and get curious. I can get down. I wanted to cry. I wanted to say, what the heck is going on in my world? Did all that, but I also later got the wherewithal and witnessing to get curious. So I devoted my applied research to the science of human flourishing, creativity and innovation, and mindfulness. I studied at that time, research and worked with. I wanted to study at least 500 fulfilled innovators. I've since worked with like thousands. But my conclusion was wonder's at the heart of everything, that beyond grit, 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, DNA, or wealth, that those people who actively sustain or reclaim a sense of wonder have a singular advantage to advancing complex work. So Tracking Wonder's been our laboratory of sorts of applied research. So I hope that's like getting at it, because so what does wonder do for complexity? It helps us re-see complexity and find a way through it. I've tracked and identified a whole language of possibility to complement our very pervasive language of pathology, with 6 facets of wonder. And one of those facets is bewilderment. Bewilderment is the disorienting deep woods facet of wonder. When we're confused and we're dealing with complexity, we don't know the way through. And experiences of wonder allow us, sort of like Alice in Wonderland or Dorothy in Oz, it allows us to navigate uncertainty and complexity and do what one masterminder recently said. She's like, I've got dynamic bewilderment now instead of this unhealthy uncertainty. By fertilizing the confusion instead of pathologizing the confusion, getting creative through the complexity, learning by doing. Those are in parts the way that wonder, tracking wonder, and curiosity help us navigate complexity and uncertainty. I hope that's getting at it for you.
Yeah, no, totally. And I feel that there's like so much wisdom in everything that you're sharing. And when I think about like the people that read our stuff and they're trying to create their sacred business, like we often say that's like, well, the sacred business is unique to each person. Right. So
Exactly.
the mind creates, like, it's not that I'm trying to imitate someone doing something, like I'm trying to really bring the combination of who I am and kind of like, how do I transform that into a business or like a service. Right. And then the mind goes crazy because it doesn't have a lot of reference. And I feel that like the way you were sharing, it's kind of an invitation to like, can you just be in this space of wonder at the beginning of your journey? Like, I don't know how it's going to unfold. I'm not 100% sure how this business is actually like the form or the shape that it is, but just being that energy that's like of like lightness and curiosity and fun allows you to see the path like one step at a time. So I'm just kind of like using your framework in a way and thinking like, yeah, like it's an important piece for people trying to create like what we call a sacred business, but like a business or like a way for service.
I love the phrase sacred business. And I love even more Sacred Business Flow, like you're hitting all of my light bulbs there. Yes, I can even be more specific too, because in the Unplugged and Unbound retreat, I take them through an innovation method over 5 days, very much outdoors and indoors. But maybe I could get really specific too for your audience. Like they have an idea. And so I often say it's one thing to fall in love with an idea. It's another thing to stand in love with an idea you're devoted to. So
Yeah.
we stand in love with that idea. And we all you're like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like we all fall in love with ideas. And then 14 days later, we're like, yeah, I'm not so sure. That openness to possibility. So the first facet of wonder is openness. It's like the wide sky, and it's like the blue sky mind. You're open to possibility. That is really important. And it's important to even foster what I call little intelligent naivete. So we're born into wonder. We're born not knowing. We get to an age where we think we need to know what we're doing and we need to be the smartest person in the room. And it turns out like entrepreneur after entrepreneur starts off not knowing what they're doing, even if they've had 2 other businesses. And that's really important, to be really open to possibility and override some of the naysayers externally and internally. But then curiosity comes into play, because what will happen when you fall out of love with the ideas, you're like, how? And how is paralyzing in the opening stages of developing an idea or founding a business. Instead, I ask people to get really curious and start with a why question or a why not question. Why couldn't, like this was my question 15 plus years ago, why couldn't people experience more wonder in the boardroom, in the bedroom, in their schools, in their entrepreneurial work, in the workplace? Why couldn't, like I started off really big and visionary and like, let's go with this. I then narrowed it down more specifically, but then I started honing in, and this is important maybe for your audience, honing in on the people I was working with. What are their particular woes and wants? So I'm drawing upon empathetic curiosity. I genuinely care about what are they suffering from, what are their woes, and what is it that they really want? And then how could we develop some tools and services and so forth to help them move forward? So then the how is tied to defining a problem that I really care about and I care deeply enough about, and the people to seek some novel, useful solutions. That's not an easy process. And that's why it should come after some openness and some deep questioning that will motivate you, because those whys and the what if questions will keep motivating you through the challenges. Because every big idea will beget a series of challenges. So you define that problem without seeking an immediate answer to that problem, right? So if I have a group of people, I've understood that their problem is they think they don't have enough time to advance their complex ideas and initiatives. Okay, I hear that a lot. So we define that problem. Creative people and entrepreneurs don't have enough time to advance their complex endeavors. What kind of solution could we come up with? So we came up with the Mind Rooms Guide to help creative people like shape their ideas and block their time and color code and so forth. Then I realized it's not so much about time management. It's often about attention management. It's more to do with attention management that often stalls most entrepreneurs and creative-minded people. So we developed a whole course that I've now taught to 18,000 people through Insight Timer and our own platform around deepening your focus and flow at work. But that had to come first from my openness and my empathetic curiosity. Does that make sense?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just telling you, like person after person, particularly in our masterminds that go through a year where they face unbidden surprises, inevitable challenges. One cycle we went through the pandemic a couple of years together. This framework helps us navigate those surprises and those challenges, and just normalize instead of pathologize the uncertainty and the complexity.
Mhm.
I did read something you wrote, Caroline, recently about the simple mind, and I was really leaning in. So yeah, I was just imagining the simple mind in relation to complexity.
Yeah, like, and I feel that, it is connected to, like, this conversation here because sometimes I feel that we judge our dreams as being, like, big and complex, and then we don't even wonder, or, like, we don't dare to, like, "Oh, what is the possibility there?" And then, like, we diminish the dream to, diminish the complexity. Like, I don't wanna deal with that because it's too complicated in my mind, and that was like like, when I was asking you, I was connecting to those thoughts as well when I was writing the simple mind
Oh,
as well.
oh, that's good. Could I one plus that a little bit?
Sure, yes.
So this is really important too that I address with our people as well in Tracking Wonder. So a lot of us are mission centered, which means yes, we have big ideas, and that can feel heavy after a while, honestly. And that is sometimes when we fall out of love. So part of what we work with, and like especially in this problem definition piece, is like that why couldn't people experience more wonder in the boardroom, the bedroom, schools? And so, like, that's really big. And so I had to scale the dream in a sizable, feasible way that I could start making a difference. So, part of that problem definition is like, we're going to stop um, pollution in all the seas, and all the oceans. Like, okay, well, you're only like three people or maybe one person. Like, could we define the problem a little bit more narrowly? Like your neighborhood, start there, right? And then what that does is it doesn't diminish the big dream. It puts you closer to making a difference, which is
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so motivating.
I always have this phrase I use sometimes with clients around basically the same idea that you're talking about, which is basically saying like not right now doesn't mean not ever, right? Because it's like we go to this super expansive state, and then it's just like how do I do all this like now? And it's like to your point, it's like, okay, you're one human being with limited resources and time. We're gonna get there. It's there for you, but it's like we need to come down a little bit. And so, yeah, I love that you bring attention to that.
Yeah, I love that too. What you said, I did read read what someone once said about the word yet and not yet. So kind of like what you're saying. Yeah, it's not never, but it's just not yet before us to reach that. Yeah, yeah. It's so important. The curiosity comes into play with being experimental, right? Which
Mhm.
I know both of you understand. It's like, let's assume an experimenter's mindset and go out and like gather some data, test this out in a small way, see what resonates with your people, but see what's being activated in you and what we call your young genius. Like, how is your young genius being activated in this experimental service or offer? Is this really lighting you up, or is this something you think you should be doing?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I wanted to kind of actually connect that back to kind of when you were talking about the not knowing piece, and I think that's so important. Like that we cop to that. Like I say that like often. I'll say that like on coaching calls. I'll be like, I don't know, but like like being honest about it, right? That none of us hold all the answers. And one of the challenges I'd love to hear your perspective on related to this idea of wonder, which I also equate with lightness, and maybe even this word like whimsy. Um,
Mm.
I feel that people that are in this transition or at a pivot point, especially if they have demonstrated years of expertise in an area where they've received a lot of merit and credibility for that, when they step into this new field of possibility, they struggle with this like not knowing and also their identity, right? Because they're here where they're receiving all this positive feedback, and then they step into this transitory state where they're like looking to do something that's more connected to their heart, but it's like it's a whole new journey for them. And I see people get stuck in this like state of almost like I call it like seriousness. Like seriousness is a major block of like I have to do this right. And we talk about letting it be messy a lot as well. But yeah, I'm curious if you're able to connect for someone in that state of transition, if you're able to connect your concept of wonder with, you know, with what I just described.
Yeah, that is so spot on. So, I've written about it in articles related to a version of imposter syndromes. This is like the accomplished professionals syndrome, where I've worked with a lot of people, worked with myself too, where, very accomplished in their field or their profession, but now they want to write their first book, for instance. And it's like, oh my gosh, I know nothing about writing a book. That feels profoundly vulnerable. Or I've been going along this path in consulting, and now I want to branch out in this whole different yet complementary field. I don't know what I'm doing. So yes, what comes up, as you can imagine, and you probably experience with your people, is profound vulnerability. They don't want to feel ignorant or not knowing. So this is where some of the Tracking Wonder facets come into play. How can you maintain a sense of openness and especially curiosity? So what skills are you excited to learn and hone? Like, let's get curious about that. What kind of people are you curious about either working with, learning from, or engaging and ultimately elevating? So let's get curious about them and not put them in the abstract. That's essential. Bewilderment comes into play always when working with people in the accomplished professional syndrome, because they're in a new territory. They're in a new world. So we find ways to fertilize the confusion in part by helping them. Sometimes we do this bewilderment Venn diagram of overlapping circles, which is like a sacred symbol in many ways. And so we'll imagine like the roles and behaviors you're letting go of over here in this circle. What are the roles and behaviors and people you're envisioning forward here in the future? And what are the practices in the present that we can do to get you from here to here, particularly when over here in the future, it's uncertain. It's like you are literally in the middle of some deep woods and you don't know where the clearing is and if you're going to find that clearing. So yeah, that's a really, really important piece. Not to go from a state of knowing and expertise to I need to enter here knowing it all. So I've worked with people. I usually can tell on our first pre-call, like we're trying to suss out whether or not we'd be right to work together. If somebody in that stage, and it's happened, in the past year or so, somebody comes to me in that stage and they want something new and big, like, I want to build a community. And I can tell by asking them questions, they think they already know everything about doing that. And they're not coachable. There's no openness. There's no curiosity. Then I know that we're not going to be a good fit, a really great fit. What about you? Like, how do you suss that out when you're kind of...
Yeah, like I feel that the way you describe, and I love like the way you said it, like, oh, being curious about like what are the new skills that I need to learn, what are the new people that it's gonna come with me, or that I need to let go because it's not gonna, they're not walking this path anymore. And we often say like, and that's kind of like how we treat business. Like people think that the business is the goal, but it's the transformation of who you are becoming in the process of like trying to build that business that is the goal, right? And if we can focus more in the curiosity, and that's why we try to talk to our clients, and that's why we have like the embodiment class, like that we bring to the physical and to the sensations and the emotions and all of that, because I almost like I feel that the business is just the excuse for your evolution. It's the way that life is inviting you to step outside the things that you already know and inviting like, no, you should be learning this because it's about the experience and it's about the transformation. And yes, like if we don't have curiosity, like we kind of like, I feel that we'll be recreating the same thing over and over and over until we realize that like it's not about like knowing, it's not knowing that is the game. That's where the game is.
It is. That is the openness, right, to the mystery,
Yes.
discovery of our own evolution. I talk a lot about like your business is evolving or you've outgrown your business model. I mean, you just personally, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, you've outgrown this business. So yes, I so appreciate that. You hit on something that came up recently in our Inner Circle Mastermind. So we start off the cycle like mapping out what we have is this vision canvas, big poster they have on their walls and so forth. And we work with that. And every quarter or season, every 3 months, we opt in for a vision recalibration session. Kind of like, okay, let's do some reflection. Where was your young genius activated and so forth? And then let's vision forward to the next 3 months. So because by virtue of the questions I ask, someone who's been in a number of my masterminds and events, she's like, I realize she said exactly what you're saying. And it just like was reframed in the past week for me. She said, I I realize that what you're asking is really by virtue of me paying attention to these particular endeavors over the next 3 or 6 months, who am I going to be?
Mhm.
Who am I going to become by virtue of paying steady attention to these particular endeavors? And I was like, bingo, you got it.
Yeah.
Someone once said, she's like, I've taken a number of your programs and it all comes back to one question. I was like, really? I'm leaning in. She's like, yeah, who am I?
Yeah. I
Right?
love
It's
that
true
because
for you too, right?
Exactly.
yeah, this is a huge part of our process too, because like when we in a similar process to what you have, I imagine, we'll get to this level of clarity of what we see as the vision for moving their business forward, and kind of like, okay, what is the roadmap of actions to take? But then we're also putting equal emphasis on like, okay, this is clear, this is the mind understands this, but now who is the person that has to stand in the center of this? Like, who is the identity of the person who can actually has the capacity to hold what's coming, like with this big vision, and maybe even who needs to die, for this vision to come to life. And so yeah, that's I love that this is all coming together like that, because I think that this is where a lot of people don't put enough emphasis on this, the identity of the person. That, they look at the logical plan, they're like, yeah, this makes sense, I want that. But it's like, okay, yeah, but we need to bring all of who you are along on this journey, and there's going to be different demands that are going to show up in different ways that you might not be anticipating outside of the traditional business structures. So yeah.
Yeah. You find people, do you find people resist that dimension of the work? Or some people are like, yes, this is why I'm in this work. Do you find people resist that sort of personal identity work?
I feel that like when people get to us, they are probably like they're reading our things, so
Right.
they resonate with the message and they are understanding that business is just not this, my life is here and then business here. So they have like an understanding of what it is. But when the transformation begins, I see that often people fall back into the like, yeah, like I want the transformation, but I want to remain who I was, like and then they bring like the old ways of being, and then that's the whole work that's like, yeah, like you can build the business of your dreams with the same mindset from before, and then when you get there, you're gonna just realize that it's not fulfilling. Just as the one you had before, because the transformation is what, your perspective, your relationship with life is actually what's going to change and shift. Sometimes you don't even need to change your business. You just need to change the relationship with the business, which should be
Yes.
in the state of like wonder and fulfillment and joy. So I feel that people come with a desire, but when it comes to like, now you need to let go this aspect of you, then it's like, but I want it, like, I don't know how to be without this. And then that's where the work is. That's how, at least like how we see and what we guide our clients through.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that. What you said, of course, yes. People who are coming to Sacred Business Flow have already probably had some filters, unless there were referrals and they're dropping into the middle of Sacred Business Flow. Same,
Mhm.
same with us, and same with me at Tracking Wonder.
Yeah,
Mostly, yeah. We
mostly, yes.
mostly, yeah. But that's okay. The ones that aren't like deep steeped, they're fun to work with too, because it's all new to them. Um,
Mhm.
there is a part of our work, you've heard me allude to like genius and young genius, and it is actually seminal to what I do in trying to hold myself in integrity and in helping others stay in integrity with who they are and who they're evolving to. And it's what one psychologist calls the soul's code. So in the context of sacred, maybe this conversation's relevant. So uh, your genius is unique to you. And it's something that you were born with, but you were born in not knowing. You forgot, in essence, who you are at your core. Your genius, or what in Greek is your daemon. It's this complex energy of character. It's what I call, your true character, that if you recognize it and activate it, it will guide you toward whatever you're called toward at whatever stage you're in. But we're born forgetting. So how do you remember? Well, one way is through your young genius. And so we sometimes go through exercises to safely recall certain memories from when we were younger, at whatever age people are comfortable going to see when they felt most alive and free without regard for external reward. And that leads to some pretty profound memories of who they were. Sometimes it's childhood, sometimes it's a little older. It does bring up some sense of wonder and curiosity innately. We identify those traits of their young genius, and then we follow that sometimes through different periods of their life, and we follow it in the present. When are you activated? When is your genius activated? When do you feel really free and alive? Those are powerful indicators for who you are and who you're becoming in the next evolution of your business.
Yeah, like the words that I use is like, what expands your heart? Like fully, what expands your heart?
Oh, yeah. What
So,
expands your heart?
what
Yeah.
is it that it's there for you that you could you lose track of time and and then we forget that the things that we like, and it's interesting, just sharing a little bit of my thing. Like, I remember that I was playing with my dolls and they would go always to I don't know, there was this celebration or my dolls were dancing, and it was always English music. And I was singing, I was maybe 6 or 7, and I was singing the song without knowing anything about English, but I loved that so much. And that was and then I asked my mom, can I enroll myself in English classes? And I loved that. And then it ended up that I moved from Brazil to Canada. My career was built in English, and now I'm here. My business is all in English. So it's it feels unrelated, but it is related.
It's related.
Me singing words that doesn't make any sense in my own language. There was something there for me, and I would love for people to just go back to that time more and what was I doing that I could just lose the track of time, and I was playing with my dolls and I was teaching and I was playing with this, and there's clues that life will start giving you that will take shape eventually into something that fulfills your heart and can become something greater than what you think it is. But it's like breadcrumbs, right? That feels that doesn't make sense, but it makes sense.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that story. I would love for you to actually really remember her and witness her. And when you witness her with appreciation, if not admiration, what are maybe 3 words you would use to describe her at her most alive and free?
Well, absolutely, curiosity, joy, and fun.
Yeah.
And I remember being curious about what is this song talking about? Because I was just blah blah blahing, and I'm and then just the joy of being there and singing and thinking that I knew what I was saying, and it was just, but the fun, curiosity, and joy, for sure.
Okay, I love that. So curiosity, joy, and fun. So imagine waking up in the morning and you take 5 minutes to remember her. And maybe that memory comes up or another one does. So you remember her. Then because you've forgotten her, right? You were born into not knowing. So you've remembered her, and now you recognize her and you write down those 3 traits. And maybe something new will come up tomorrow morning. And then you say, okay, this is what I think is in my day's flow for the day. How can I bring forward my curiosity, my joy, or my sense of fun in something that I'm doing today? It doesn't have to be 100%, but maybe 20% today. And can I just keep activating and reclaiming my young genius qualities today? That's an
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that exercise. Yeah. And you're setting your day to that vibration, right? Like you're intentionally
Yes.
beginning your day like, this is what I'm going to follow, instead of just the
Spinning.
craziness of the mind. Yeah. I
Yes,
love
yes.
that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. It's just another way to say, okay, this is who I'm bringing to the day today. This is who I'm bringing to work today. Yeah.
Well, wow, Jeffrey, I feel like there's a whole laundry list of other topics and conversations that I think would be really fun to explore, but I know we've kind of reached our time here. But before we wrap up, I really like to make sure that we have time to kind of let listeners that have been tuning in, whether it's live or catching the replay later, to just learn how they can explore your work more closely. So I know you're here on Substack, so that makes things quite easy since we're doing this live on Substack. But for anyone that has heard something that kind of sparked something in them that they might want to kind of follow along what you're doing a little bit more, what advice might you give them, or what might you point them towards?
Yeah, sure. Well, what advice I would give them is to remember, recognize, and activate your young genius. And know that uncertainty is par for the course when you're living life and doing work at a sacred level. And there is a way forward. Don't go it alone. Right? Find some allies on the journey, really important, and experiment along the way. Yes, you can find me at the Wonder Hub on Substack. And there's also a page we've created for your listeners. If they go to trackingwonder.com/podcast guest, they can download the first chapter of my book, Tracking Wonder, where they'll hear a lot about
Beautiful.
Oh,
the
nice.
fire that lit this up. They can take our Wonder at Work assessment, so they can get some like quick ways to experiment depending on what their assessment results are. I think that's probably a good place to start. And they can reach me even at my email, Jeffrey@trackingwonder.com.
Wonderful. Yes. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. It was really an honor to have you, and really grateful to have this conversation with you, learn from you personally, and also just to share your gifts and talents with our audience. So yeah, really appreciate having you here with us today.
Thank you as well. Yes, I'm curious about learning more about both of you as well. So I hope we keep the conversation going.
Yes,
Awesome.
thank you so much. It was a truly joy. Like I could stay here with you like many hours. Just like
We can
in
have a wonder
wonder.
party.
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah,
that'll be
thank you.
next. Yeah.
Yes, that's such a good idea, though. Yeah.
I do call some of my friends in the city. I'm like, "Do you want to go for a wonder walk?" They're like, "Please, let's go."
Oh, we have that. We have the Wonder Walk, like we do once a week, which is like our day to, wonder about what we are creating and what we want to create, and it's called the Wonder Walk. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Good.
I didn't know that was actually in your terminology, but it's something that Carolina and I started when we first, when we first started this business. It was, for part of us, I know we have to wrap here, but like Fridays in general are kind of like our wonder, kind of like open inspiration, like if we've gotten everything done in the rest of our week. And that's one of our practices is the Wonder Walk. We go out and it's just like, let it run. And so that's awesome. It's cool.
That it is.
It's
a key part of our work. Yeah. Love it.
Cool.
Love that.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you again. And
thank you.
Yeah, let's keep the conversation going. And also we will share this recap with you after. We do kind of a write-up afterwards. So we'll share that with you. If you find it useful, we'd love it if you could share it with your audience. But absolutely, it's not a requirement. So
we will.
But yeah, thank you so much, Jeffrey. And we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Absolutely. Be well, you both. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.